It was time to make our way back to the city. The next morning, Goose had his inspection. We knew we would have to sleep somewhere in the city in order to make it to the inspection as the gates opened. Only 25 vehicles get inspected each day. We were a little nervous about the whole thing, as a week before, a friend of a friend had gotten to the inspection site early to make sure he would be one of the 25 vehicles inspected, and while he waited in line outside the gate, a man was shot right in front of his vehicle while the police stood by. So needless to say, we wanted to make sure to get there early, but not too early, and we're anxious to get this step over with. So tonight is going to be our first night ever camping in an actual literal parking lot. So
first time camping on pavement.
Yeah, so
we're out on the peninsula. They call it the Causeway,
Panama.
outside Panama City, and it's just packed right now with people and lights.
Yeah,
and
Sunday night.
Yep, and so we talked to a security guard. It is a spot that one other person at least has camped on, Overlander, but you can tell the guy had never had somebody ask him, and he was like, that's probably okay, so hopefully he doesn't get in trouble, and hopefully we're good to go.
It's going to be not a lot of sleep, I don't think, tonight.
Sleep like a baby.
The security guard was really nice, and he excitedly brought us over to show us the sloths that crawled by each night. So crazy. So even though we didn't get much sleep and had to leave at 5:30 in the morning, we did get to see the sloths, and that was pretty cool. Alright guys, we got up early this morning out of our little parking lot, and we are doing our inspection, the DIJ inspection, before we can get on the boat. We're in the ghetto of Panama. It is crazy. So it's been an interesting morning, but we made it here alright. Got all our paperwork ready to go. We're just waiting on the guy to inspect. He just looks at the VIN, I guess, so hopefully it goes well. We will see. And then we have to fill out some paperwork, I think, and then come back here at 2. So we don't really get to go anywhere very far. We made it through the first part of the inspection.
Yes, we did.
And now we have to go back at 2 o'clock with more paperwork.
Yep, 2 o'clock, more paperwork, but that'll give us everything we need to get on the ship to go to Colombia. And then we'll head towards Colón.
Yep. Last night was fine.
Yeah, we didn't sleep a lot.
The parking lot was quiet, and the guard was really nice.
Yeah, super nice guy.
But yeah, wide awake at 5:30, ready to go. So.
Yep, and then seeing sloths last night was
that was really cool.
So cool.
That was awesome.
And since we're stuck in town, it is the most commercial day we've had on the whole trip. We got Starbucks coffee this morning. That's
it was the only thing open, so we got some Starbucks coffee, which was fancy. And then I think we're gonna do like McDonald's for lunch, so we should have heart attacks and be dead by dinner. We'll feel really good later, I'm sure.
Yeah, we won't regret it.
1 hour later.
Hello. Just a hobo. Getting a haircut.
"24 hours later.
Alright, it is the day before we put Goose on the boat. We're in Colón now. We're just outside of it. And the place we're camping said we can wash him. They had all the supplies, so we're going to give him a quick bath. So he looks nice when he goes into the The container. We cleaned Goose inside and out, did laundry, and even gave him a much-needed coat of wax. That night we finished off any food we had, made sure we were packed for a few days without Goose, and that he was ready for his solo journey to Colombia. Then we tried to quiet our minds and get some sleep.
Flashback.
Let me jump back a few days to the inspection. This is where we first met Jake and Jordan. They would be sharing a shipping container with us. We found them through an app called Container Buddies, and we got really lucky having them as our buddies, which we would find ourselves saying over and over again throughout this process. We camped with them before heading to the port in Colón, and that is where we find ourselves now.
End of flashback.
We had hired a shipping agent, which we will have more thoughts on later, who had provided us instructions on the process of sorting out our paperwork at the port so we could get the vehicles onto the ship. We started first thing in the morning, realizing quickly the instructions were not so great. So we were glad we had 4 heads to work on this instead of just 2. We made our way from building to building, waiting in lines, sometimes to be told we need to wait in another line to get a stamp before we can jump back in this line. At this point, we were wondering what the point of having hired a shipping agent was, but continued to sort our way through the chaos. Eventually, just when we thought we had completed everything, found where we needed to bring the vehicles, a port employee looked over our paperwork and said there was a mistake. They both said a different shipping port. This could only be changed at an office down the way. So Tim and Jake jumped in Goose to find this office as Jordy and I sat with the van and waited.
Alright, we're stuck at the shipping port because the computers are down and it's been down for like, what, 2 hours now? Yeah, it's really 2 hours. Horrible. So the boys went and they're waiting there and we're stuck just sitting here waiting for them to come back, and then we can hopefully finish and get onto the boat, or into the container I suppose, but it's been a long, stressful day so far.
We waited for about 4 hours with the fact that we would miss the boat if we didn't get this paperwork updated in time looming over our heads. It would also cause Tim and I to miss our flights the following morning. So it was down to the wire, and as you saw, the port employees were less than motivated to be of much help. Luckily, with about a half hour left, the boys finally showed up with the paperwork. We headed to drop the vehicles with our fingers crossed. This time, there would be no issues. Jake and Jordan needed to air down their van's tires and had taken a solar panel off the roof the night before in hopes their tall van would be able to squeeze into the container. It was a long day, to say the least, and we were all glad to get out of Colón, which we had been warned many times by Panamanians was super dangerous. We hopped on a bus back to Panama City, where we would sleep for the night before catching a plane over to Colombia to await Goose. We made it. Goose was in his container, headed for Colombia, and we were on our flight. We said goodbye to Panama and Central America, hello to Colombia and South America. We were pretty excited to see what it had in store. What?
Hello.
I don't know if I already talked to the camera about that.
I don't think so.